Jeff and Osama, welcome.
Hey, good to be here.
Yeah, of course. So great day to talk because you guys just launched a new candidate going against an incumbent Democrat in New York City. Let's go ahead and take a look at her launch video.
This is how change begins. It doesn't roll in on the wheels of inevitability. We have to make it happen because overcoming the politics of the past takes action from all of us. Since I was a teenager, I've been organizing right here, on these blocks, in these streets. My work has shown me that we're at our most powerful when we act together in solidarity. As an educator, a union member, an Afro-Latina New Yorker, I know we deserve better than the status quo. As New Yorkers, we know it's not our neighbors' fault when they fall in hard times. It's the failure of our system. That's why I've been here, working to reunite families torn apart by our country's cruel immigration system. Organizing against what we all know is a genocide in Palestine. And as the daughter of immigrants, it's personal to me when ICE kidnaps my friends off our streets. All of these injustices are symptoms of our broken system. So where is our congressman when ICE is kidnapping his constituents? Why should we let Adriano Espaillat vote to spend billions on bombs overseas when we're struggling to afford rent and groceries right here in New York City? We live in the richest country in the history of the world. It's never been that our government lacks the resources to help us. It's just that the establishment lacks the courage. The politics of the past are failing us. It's time for us to take matters into our own hands. I'm Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier, and I'm running for Congress. You deserve a member of Congress who isn't cashing checks from AIPAC, real estate developers, or corporations. You deserve a member of Congress who prioritizes the people, not their political career. The era of machine politics ends now. Our campaign is backed by Justice Democrats and powered by people just like you. For too long, we've been told that change will come tomorrow. To echo our ancestors who once stood right here, we're now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. So join us today, because on our campaign, we're not waiting for tomorrow any longer.
All right, so that's Daria Liza going up against Adriano Espaillat, who's a sort of, I guess, run-of-the-mill and pro-Israel Democrat in New York City. I'm getting Zoran vibes. She's talking outright about we got to oppose genocide. She's wearing the keffiyeh. Jeff, what was it that you saw about her in this campaign that you guys thought was, one worth getting behind?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into the district targeting and the candidate recruitment and selection process. And I think for this one in particular, we saw a district that after the primary, Zoran had won by 19 points.
Wow.
Even though Adriano Espaillat had endorsed Andrew Cuomo in the primary. And Espaillat's kind of viewed as this machine politician, this powerful incumbent, and clearly he endorsed Cuomo. His constituents did not agree and went to Zoran. And so we started digging into the district and we're like, okay, wow. 88% of this district are renters. So let's find a candidate who is a renter. Daria Lisa is a renter. Adriano Espaillat's second biggest donor is the real estate industry. Like that's a clear contrast that we can draw. And then you saw in the launch video, Daria Lisa was on the front lines organizing with Columbia students against the genocide. And Mahmoud Khalil, who was kidnapped by ICE, lived in New York 13. And when he was kidnapped, Adriano Espaillat said, we expect Donald Trump to follow the law here. We're gonna let this play out. We expect Trump to follow the law.
Oh my God.
And so we just saw a really good contrast between Daria Lisa's life organizing experience and Adriano Espaillat in a district that is working class, predominantly people of color and people who are ready for change coming off of Zoran's win.
So, Osama, let me ask you, how many candidates are you guys running, and how are you guys picking the districts for Justice Democrats?
Yeah, so we've launched 5 candidates so far. This is our 5th candidate of this cycle, and I think, we expect to at least double it by the new year. So this cycle for us is very much a fight back, punch back cycle after AIPAC spent over $100 million last cycle, and they thought they could get rid of us. They have surely not. And so really, our bread and butter has always been, Kyle, as you very well know, is, first and foremost, we look at deep blue districts and deep Democratic districts where there's not really any excuse for an incumbent to be a corporate incumbent or a shill for any sort of lobby or APAC or crypto or whomever. And, those are the districts where we should be leading the party from. I think all the conversations we've had about Zoran, the reason they are kind of taking over what is the future of the Democratic Party is because, what is possible in New York City should be possible for the Democratic base across the country. And we can push everyone from that point. And so the districts we've launched in so far are Detroit, Memphis, Los Angeles, Corey Bush in St. Louis as well. And of course, New York City and Upper Manhattan, Harlem, and the Bronx. Across those districts, frankly, overwhelmingly, they are working class districts. They are often majority minority districts or have substantial communities of color that are also working class. And they are represented often by people who have either made themselves very wealthy off their time in office and become multimillionaires. People like Sri Thanadar in Michigan 13, in Detroit, or people like Steve Cohen in Memphis, Tennessee, who's a quiet millionaire. And then you have folks like Jimmy Gomez and Adriano Espaillat, who have, bankrolled their campaigns off of APAC or crypto or the real estate lobby, while their same communities are being targeted, harassed, or attacked by those lobbies' donors. Los Angeles has become was one of the first kind of points where we saw ICE attack communities. That district is overwhelmingly an immigrant community. And you have Jimmy Gomez, who is funded by Republican donors, or like Jeff said, Espaillat is representing a district that's 2/3 renters, and his second largest donor base is the real estate lobby. He's even gotten ethics complaints from him and his chief of staff about the fact that he's given good contracts to his friends in the real estate lobby. And so I think all the folks we're targeting really embody the failure of the Democratic Party that voters are really waking up to this cycle and seeing that it's time to turn the page on.
And I just want to say real quick that everybody needs to think of Justice Democrats as like the anti-APAC in a sense. Like there's the APAC Democrats. It's a great litmus test more broadly for where they're going to stand on other issues. If they've sold out to APAC, that means they've more broadly sold out to corporations. That means they're going to be more centrist. That means they're not going to deliver for the people. So, and the problem we always ran into is it's just a perpetual funding thing. When you have APAC or these other lobbies, they can raise a lot of money from a lot of wealthy donors, whereas, of course, we as a matter of principle do not take money from wealthy donors. So just tell everybody now, how can they support Justice Democrats? How can they support your candidates? What's the best way to donate to you guys? Because if we're going to fight back against the power of APAC, we really need an equal and opposite lobby that can go toe-to-toe with them on funding, but just get funding from the people as opposed to corporations.
Yeah, I think folks can go to our website and donate. We're largely funded by small dollar donors because obviously when you're taking on rich and powerful people, they're not opening their wallets to you like you're saying, Kyle. But we are largely small dollar donor funded. A lot of that money comes organic from people who find us online, who see our emails, who see something on Twitter, and see what you're saying, which is like the whole thing here is we are waging the ideological war within the party. And we have a huge opportunity to do that this cycle with 10 plus endorsements, electing a whole new squad. I think that's very much on the table. But we also have opponents like APAC who have 40 million in the bank. Crypto have over 100 million in the bank. We don't need to outspend them to win, but we do need to reach a certain level for Daria Lisa, for Donovan McKinney, for Justin Pearson, of getting their message out to voters. And even if we're outspent 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, we can win, but we need to hit that kind of critical level in each of these races, and we help these campaigns do that.
Yeah, I'm actually talking to Justin Pearson tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. And I'm sure you guys saw that his opponent, incumbent Steve Cohen, likened Pearson getting into the race to Pearl Harbor. Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. So I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good about his chances personally. Osama, I did want to ask you, like, how big are you guys planning to go? Understanding that there are resource constraints, but, and Kyle can speak to this more than me, but I feel like there's never been a better moment for Justice Democrats, because now it's not just the like Bernie wing of the party that agrees with us. The whole Democratic base agrees with us. And you do have this incredible disconnect between the political electeds and the vast majority of the Democratic base on the issue of Israel. I mean, I think it's such an important litmus test, genuine, massive divide between the base and the leadership. And then you also have a massive divide in terms of just the sort of approach to Trump 2.0, where there's been so much capitulation from Democratic electeds that every normie liberal is just absolutely disgusted by. And we've never seen that before. So how are you thinking about seizing the opening and the opportunity that I think we have now that is just, you know, head and shoulders beyond what we've ever seen before? You know, when you guys back AOC, when Kyle backs AOC and she gets elected, you know, that created a certain level of opening, but you still had a Democratic base that genuinely thought Nancy Pelosi was good and that the Democratic leadership was fighting for them and trusted the sort of liberal media institutions. That all is broken and gone. So I just think that the opportunity is extraordinary. And Osama, I'm wondering how you guys are thinking about that and how you want to seize the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. For us, this cycle feels like an existential cycle, and also a go big or go home kind of moment. And we felt that, frankly, the day of after the November election, that was going to happen no matter what kind of the vibes were, the feelings were, no matter what the outcome was going to be. It was going to be a cycle that we needed to punch back and transform this party, because what we saw throughout the year was just a failure of Democratic Party leadership and the Democratic Party establishment to build a vision that everyday people could see themselves in. And you saw that in November, right? Working class communities no longer saw this party as a party that was fighting for its best interest. And I think every month since then, we have just seen a Democratic Party base that is so disaffected and uninspired by its party, and so desperate to see primary challenges like the ones we're running and a new era of leadership. So we're really excited to take advantage of that moment. You know, last cycle was the first cycle we didn't run any primary challenges since we started, because we were focused on fighting back against AIPAC and protecting our incumbents. And this cycle is the opposite. You know, we're going full on steam ahead, trying to primary as many corporate incumbents as possible. Like Jeff said, I mean, like we said earlier, we've already launched 5, hope to have double by that by, you know, January, and more to come as that. And I think what's been so great to see also is that, you know, at a certain point at our founding, I don't think everyday people thought that Democratic primaries were even a possibility for them to sort of be a voice in their community, be a voice in Washington, D.C. And this cycle, I think a lot through the work that we've done over the years of building out primaries as like an effective tool to transform the Democratic Party, everyday people are rising up themselves and saying, fuck this, you know, I'm going to primary this piece of shit corporate shill who's been representing me for 25 years, and I'm going to do it myself. And that's been really exciting to see. It's been really exciting to see the working class energy around the country to take this on. And so we are going all in, trying to maximize this as much as possible. And to your point, absolutely, you know, even from a cycle ago, to see the change that AIPAC has had within the kind of global psyche, especially in U.S. politics. You know, there's a lot of work that happened, I think, from groups that were allied with groups. We helped launch this Reject AIPAC coalition last cycle to particularly kind of call out AIPAC's nefarious influence in the Democratic Party, their overwhelming funding from Republican mega donors, and, you know, the fact that they endorsed like 100 more Republicans than Democrats anyways. And that, I think, paired with the fact that we saw a genocide live streamed over our screens for the last 2 years, I think voters woke up to realize, you know, why are my leaders not supporting an end to this? And they realized, oh, AIPAC, just like every other lobby, has way more influence than I do, and it's time to reject them as well.
And honestly, at this point, it kind of feels like we have them in a corner. I mean, they have a lot of money, of course, but we have them in a corner in the sense that there are times where AIPAC will run ads in a race and they don't mention Israel. And they don't mention Israel because they know that people are not going to agree with us no matter what we say. And so, Jeff, I'm curious your thoughts on this. Crystal and I have been talking a lot about this, but what do you make of the fact that now it appears like there's even DSA candidates that are being competitive in Tennessee? Like, that tells you there's this massive sea change, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the point you just made and the one you made before is why it's happening. And it's interesting to see coming out of Zoran Mamdani's when like some of our establishment counterparts are like, oh, what we learned from this is we got to shoot more vertical videos or we got to do more walk and
Right.
talk.
Let's use a yellow font, right?
Right, exactly. The real lesson from Zoran's win is that moral courage is a winning strategy, right? Standing up against genocide, standing up to any lobby or corporate interest that confronts us is not just the strategy of the left. It's not just the morally right thing to do. That should be the strategy of the whole party. That's how we finally take back the party. I know this Data for Progress poll, our friends over there did like a word cloud, like they just asked an open-ended question of what's your impression of the Democratic Party? And the giant word in the middle is weak. And it's because Democrats back down to fights. And AIPAC's a great example. Crypto's another one. AI is going to be a big one this cycle. They just started a PAC. And really, like, for us, fascism is here. There's no strategic way around it. I'm going to try to, message my way around it with magic words. We need to be really super clear with voters where we're at and that we don't back down from these fights. And that's how we overcome the money. Like, that is a universal message, right? That works in Memphis, it works in New York, it works across the country.
Yeah. Talk to me, Jeff, a little bit more about how many candidates are reaching out to you, because I know just in New York City, you've got challenges against Richie Torres, against Hakeem Jeffries, against Adriano Espaillat. I saw there may be one against Latimer, who's the guy who beat Jamal Bowman.
All because of AIPAC money. All because of AIPAC money, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. And redistricting. But Grace Meng, Dan Goldman is almost certainly going to be challenged by Brad Lander, and I think will likely be defeated. That's just New York, literally just New York City. So, I mean, clearly there's a Zoran effect there, but I also think there is like a Dem Tea Party going on now. And I assume that, I don't think anyone would be better positioned to really see that from the ground up than you, because I can't keep track of all the candidates that are reaching out to me of like, hey, I'm a union member, or, I'm a local activist, I'm a teacher, I'm challenging this person who's, out of touch and who sucks. So talk to me about how the candidates you're seeing now, both in quality and in quantity, compare to what you've seen in cycles in the past.
Yeah, I think we added it up the other day, and all the candidates and potential candidates we've talked to this cycle, it's over 100 people.
Wow.
And not all of them, not all of them decided to run, obviously, but there are dozens who did decide to run. And then it's kind of our job to track that, to assess a path to victory, to kind of assess what I was talking about before, which is, what's the narrative around this race? What's the story we can tell around this race? And I really encourage everybody to run. Like, we haven't told people, hey, don't run. It's Justice Democrats may not be able to support every single campaign because we're 10 people, but we're going to assess the best opportunities. It is important that we're ruthless with our resources, but that's not to say that other people shouldn't run or that they can't win. They absolutely can. And I think in this moment, it's to our benefit to spread out that map on our opponents, right? If
Yes.
the corporate interests have to play in dozens of races, then that's only beneficial to us.
What is the issue-specific criteria that you have for candidates? What do they need to be good on for them to even be considered for your backing?
Yeah, we have a long questionnaire, and I joke with Usama, obviously, like Medicare for All, Green New Deal, like a lot of the progressive issues are on there, federal jobs guarantee. But it really comes down often to Palestine and crypto as you guys have identified the litmus test, because
Those are good litmus tests.
there's a political price to pay, right? If you say the word genocide publicly, there's a political price to pay if you oppose Trump's corrupt crypto legislation. And so it really is the moral courage test for us of, is this candidate the real deal or not?
Are you going to confront capital? I mean, that's the bottom line, right?
Exactly.
And by taking those two stands out of the gates, like you said, there's a political price, and there's millions of dollars that are now going to be off the table. So that entirely makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I got into this work because my dad was a bartender and didn't have health care, and it nearly cost him his life. And so for me personally, obviously I care deeply about what's going on in Palestine and the genocide, but it's also, if you're not standing up to genocide and standing up to AIPAC, I can't trust you to stand up for my dad, right? Like
Yeah.
no working person can trust you to stand up for the issues that they care about. So that's really how we do our endorsement process.
So the original Justice Democrats platform actually called for cutting off weapons to Israel, and this was back in 2018 or so, and that's because I wrote it. so there was that. But actually the original name for Justice Democrats, because of course it was myself, Cenk, Shoykat Chakrabarty, and Zach Exley, and then eventually AOC came onto leadership as well, which was cool. This was after she won, but. Oh shit! I forgot where I was going to go with that.
You were talking about the original platform.
The original name was the Left Tea Party. That was the working name. And then I believe Cenk thought, how about Justice Party Democrats? And then I was like, well, we're not a third party, so probably drop the party part. And then it became Justice Dems. And so that's a little bit of the backstory. But then now my baby's all grown up. Thank you guys for for running it. Over 100 candidates running. I mean, that's truly, truly incredible. So everybody listening to this, like, help these guys scale up. Help these guys run as many people as possible, because this is exactly what we need right now. I mean, we have DSA is doing their thing, and of course they're also with limited resources. You guys are doing your thing, and like, if we're right and this is the moment, then we are the future. This is the future. The future is Justice Democrats. The future is DSA. The future are all of these, these primary opponents. So what races around the country have you guys looked at and found inspiration, seeing that, oh, look, this one seems to be breaking through?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the ones are the ones we got involved in. Some of these races like Daria Lisa, like Justin, like Donovan, we were there from day one on, and we launched, and we were really excited about. And then some of those folks like Angela Gonzalez Torres, who launched her campaign before we were involved in it at all, caught our attention and saw, and then we sort of looked at, we've been thinking about Jimmy Gomez for a while, and this guy was one of the biggest recipients of APAC, Super PAC spending last cycle, and is also a crypto shill and has consistently voted for Trump's crypto corruption. And you look at Los Angeles, and the news stories are not about any of that, and it's about ICE terrorizing their communities. And you have Jimmy Gomez, who comes from a working class background, who had so much promise as to what could have been for that district, and it was just a failure. And if you look at the last two cycles, he had really competitive primaries against Dave Kim. And so when we saw Angela running and heard her story, those are the sort of folks we see and are like, absolutely, we should get involved and get invested in. There's a lot of other candidates like that who are still under wraps for us that we'll soon to be announcing for sure, that we're really excited about, honestly, across the country. I think any candidate who is clear-eyed about why they're getting into this, about why they think have a better vision for their community, and are willing to take on, like Jeff said, have the moral courage to take on both, Republican authoritarianism and democratic corporatism, and with the same energy. That is the sort of vision we need and that we're looking for. And we encourage, and, there's, like Jeff said, even if we don't get involved in those races, we are still often there behind the scenes trying to be like, let us know how we can help, be encouraging, be supportive in whatever other ways. Because for more than anything, what our goal is, and has always been, at least since I've been at Justice Democrats, is to break down the barriers for working class candidates to actually run in Congress, right? As you said, right? You can be someone who is a shill for APAC or crypto or pharma or whomever and get millions of dollars, and you don't have to worry about that. But a lot of these folks who've never run for Congress before, have never run for political office before, like Daria Lisa, their Rolodex is not, the real estate developers of Harlem, right?
Right.
They are the people that they organize with, right? They're the people who they canvass for Zoran with. And so as much as possible, we want to break down the barriers and create the infrastructure and support structure for working class people to actually run for Congress. Because what is the most maddening thing I think I have heard in the aftermath of the November election was the various $1 million pitches that we should spend to understand how to talk to working class people or how to talk to white men. And it's sort of like, what if we just ran working class people in our party and let them run the fucking party instead of trying to figure out how to message the right five words to them? They might actually listen to their own community more than a billionaire in a fucking suit.
I don't know. I think
Right.
we should send Olivia Juliana some more money to figure out how to talk to me.
Oh, as a Texan, yes, for sure.
Jeff, talk to me specifically about Cori Bush's race. So Cori Bush, many people know
OG Justice Democrat.
OG Justice Dem, able to win. Was it her second time she ran that she was able to win narrowly? Yep. And then she faces a primary challenge from her right herself, from Wesley Bell. Tons of Israel, I don't know if it was specifically AIPAC or DMFI, but Israel lobby money flows into that race. Wesley Bell, now top recipient of AIPAC cash, and he's able to defeat her. And now she's running again. And I am extremely hopeful about her getting back in, simply because there is so much more understanding of AIPAC. And it is such, you know, people who had never heard of it before now hate it. You know, you've got the liberal wine moms over at I've Had It putting up the track AIPAC numbers and calling out Democrats who were taking this cash. And they understand it not only in connection with genocide, but also in connection with them backing Trump Republicans. So how are you assessing that race? And what do you think will be different this time that could allow her to topple Wesley Bell?
Yeah, and we've obviously been with Cori from the beginning, since your days, Kyle, and really, really happy that she's running again as well. You know, she co-sponsored the Ceasefire Now bill shortly after October 7th with Rashida Tlaib. It was just like, it was really powerful to have her in Congress and make others like Rashida and others feel like, okay, I'm in solidarity with other people. I think that, you know, what we saw last cycle, it was over $10 million of spending from the Israel lobby, from crypto, and all of that to beat Cori Bush by 5 points. I think what's different this time is AIPAC isn't, they have a different stand in the party. There's a different vibe with voters, as we've talked about and identified. That's not just something that we see on Twitter, by the way. That's something we've done polling in these districts, and we see their unfavorability skyrocketing. And Wesley's going to have to answer for the fact that those were the folks that helped him get in that seat. They're going to be the folks who spend money for him this time. And Cori Bush has the opportunity to say, hey, this didn't work out. We've been sending billions of dollars to Israel, and we can barely afford our rent and our energy bills here in St. Louis. And Wesley's going to have to answer to that at a time when more people are, you know, moving against AIPAC and taking a stand against sending money to Israel.
Finally, for you, Osama, and then love you guys to plug where people can donate again. You know, what is sort of your biggest hope and ambition for this cycle? Like, what would you consider to be a victory after the midterm elections?
Yeah, I think, you know, you asked this question earlier about like how can we go big this cycle? And I think to your point that we are seeing what a failure of an opposition party looks like right now in the Democratic Party currently. And I think our goal is to sort of build a slate of candidates this cycle to show the Democratic voter base what a real opposition party can look like and what real opposition leaders can look like. We already have, you know, a handful of members in Congress that we're proud to support and endorse and will continue doing. But, you know, it's a small block in Congress, and we have to double and triple that to actually wield power. And then we can show people this is what it looks like. I mean, you look at the folks who are the loudest, who are taking on both corporate Democrats and Republican authoritarianism with the same sort of fervor. It is, frankly, mostly Justice Democrats in Congress.
Yep.
And if we had, you know, 3 times that amount of people, we would have a party that doesn't, you know, play possum like James Carville wants and be a doormat for Republicans when they surrender our health care to, you know, to fucking Republicans who are going to raise our costs, or surrender Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, and actually fight back. And the reason, I mean, we all know why the Democratic Party doesn't fight back with the urgency that the crises their communities are facing do it. It's because they are bought and sold by the same special interests, donors, and corporate lobbies that Republicans are. So why would you fight back against your donors when your donors are greenlighting this sort of authoritarianism in the first place? And so I think a win for us looks like, you know, first and foremost, that the same, you know, 100+ Democrats that were sworn into Congress in January don't get close to Washington, D.C. come next swearing in, and that we have a whole cadre of new leaders that we get into Congress and can actually transform what this party can do.
Yeah. So, I mean, guys, the time has come. It's here. It's now.
Yep.
You know, I think Abdul El Sayed is very likely to win. I think Graham Plattner is very likely to win. I think Kat Abu Ghazaleh is very likely to win. I think a bunch of our candidates, I mean, Zoran obviously just won. And you guys are running Angela Gonzalez Torres, Donovan McKinney, Cori Bush, who I absolutely love, Daria Liza, whose ad we just saw earlier, and Justin J. Pearson. Guys, go support them. Go support everybody. Go to justicedemocrats.com. Help them out. You know, they're not taking big money. They're not taking billionaire money, corporate money, anything like that. And they need grassroots support. And this is how you build a party to fight back against Trump. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We really appreciate it. And best of luck to you. Hey guys, we just had an awesome interview with the Justice Democrats leaders, and Crystal and I also did a nice long intro with a whole bunch of stories. If you want to see the intro and the rest of the show, check it out below. Sign up on Substack.